Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of Minions of the Zoo. I'm your keeper this evening, Skep Tock, and with me I have Minions Prospero
Hello.
and Serenity Star.
Hello.
It's nice to have you guys with me this evening. I hope you've had a good day. Prospero, how was your day?
It was full of laundry and moving things from the garage into the house and trying to unpack some boxes. So it was actually a productive day.
Yeah.
Um, Annoying because
Mm.
the laundry was, we moved all our artwork. I say artwork, all the stuff we had hanging on the walls in the other house ourselves.
All
And
the work that Art did.
yes, good old art. And that meant using blankets and throws and beach towels and things like that to separate, because some of them were oils, and I wanted to preserve, keep the canvases safe. But as a result of schlubbing that stuff in and out of vehicles multiple times, I needed to wash all the blankets and throws and beach towels and bullshit that I'd used. So that's how I spent the background of my day. And
Mm.
but we had our 45-day checklist for
Mm.
the warranty team, and they came in and poked around and fixed some stuff that was wrong when we moved into the house. So at least that's done. And maybe we're going to get a garage door that opens when you press the button to make it open. The hardwired button works. I mean, well, the one that's inside the garage, it's probably a remote also. But if you're outside of the garage, you can't get the remotes or the keypad outside to work. So we have to come in the house to open the garage door if we're sitting in the driveway with things to put in the garage.
Boy.
Yeah, that's the antenna. My guess is either the antenna is pointed in the wrong direction, or it's a faulty
Is
receiver.
this in the new house?
Yes.
Well, that's not going to pass muster.
No, it isn't. And we have an appointment Friday to get that taken care of. This is all just such fascinating conversation. But
It's what everybody turns into minions for.
I know that's what is going on in Prospero's miserable life of moving. This is why I will never leave this house voluntarily in a move. It will be involuntary. Either the guys with the little nets and the cute white suits will come and
Yeah.
take me out of the house.
Nets or a gurney.
Or a gurney. Yep, it'll be the knacker or the knacker man. He can just pull up and toss me in the cart.
Yeah. Bring
With
up
me.
your dad.
Yep, with me muttering, "I'm not dead yet." But yeah, they're getting on it. They're gonna fix this stuff, and that'll be great. When it gets fixed, it'll be awesome. But now I have to empty the garage out so they can get to the garage door opener.
Woohoo!
And Cree's having oral surgery tomorrow morning, so he won't be able to do
Mm.
anything till Thursday. So I'm Pack Mule Prospero at your service.
Oh boy, Brenda had 4 bone grafts in her jaw last week. She
Yeah.
has been really hurting.
I bet.
I,
This is
you know,
in
is
prep for Cree. Cree's getting some cementing done in prep for the plugs and replacement teeth for the crowns and the nubs
Yeah,
of
that's
teeth that have failed. Yeah.
very similar to this. Yep.
Yeah, and this is the easier one. This is a much smaller area and it's only one side.
Hmm.
So that after this it should be all downhill for him. But we've got the antibiotic, we've got the drugs, we've got the mashed potatoes and gravy. Food that one can gum. We've actually reached that point. Not only did we move to the old farts neighborhood, but we're gumming our food.
You know, I knew that this pain was bad with Brenda because I saw her take ibuprofen.
Yeah. Actually, that's recommended for this.
I mean, they ask, they request that you take, opiates. They tell you you'll just get well faster. She's not having any part of it.
Yeah, Cree doesn't want those either, but they've got the prescription strength ibuprofen, and
Well, it's just 800 instead of 200. But
yeah, you take 4 tablets, and
Right.
they love writing those scripts, baby.
Yeah.
It makes them feel
Well,
important.
It saves you money. Ibuprofen's expensive.
Yeah, it is, and then they now recommend alternating with Tylenol, so that you're attacking your stomach, attacking your liver, then attacking your stomach, then attacking your, you keep a balance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
It's also how they work on what pain receptors. The difference.
Well, considering that they work in 2 completely separate nervous systems. One,
yes.
One works on the peripheral nervous system. One is a central nervous system agent.
That's why they're doing it that way now.
Yeah.
And the ibuprofen is also good as a anti-swelling device,
right.
Because of being an anti-inflammatory.
It's better at all the stuff than Tylenol. Too.
Oh,
I'm not a big Tylenol fan.
Neither am I. And when I saw that they were doing this recommendation, I thought, well, great. Then you can be out of pain and not swelling for a little while. Then you take the Tylenol and the pain can come back.
And poison your liver.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason they're doing the back and forth is to keep stomach upset and or liver function issues at a minimum. And
do you know what? Do you know why? Do you know why that's a problem? Because McNeil Laboratories was bought by Johnson & Johnson. And when that happened, Johnson & Johnson decided they wanted to sell a whole bunch more Tylenol. That's why this is happening. That's the only reason.
Yeah, because I've taken
nothing to do with any real benefit. That's crap.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was the case, and Cree was not in an enormous amount of pain unless he aggravated it. It's the. You know what I mean by the gumming of the food. Things that you can basically tongue against the roof of your mouth.
Right.
And when he'd had the stuff done bilaterally was more difficult. If something's just on one side, you can kind of cant your head and eat.
Oh yeah.
Where you can get a little
but
chewing
otherwise
action.
You're
rabbiting your food with your front teeth at best.
That's misery. But you can get some macaroni and cheese, and soft things like that, and get by with it. That's what Brenda's doing right now.
Yeah, and she's got a longer recovery arc than Cree will. After a couple of days, because they're it's such a small area for suture. For Cree, he'll be back to chewing on the other side.
Oh yeah.
The jaw stiffness the ibuprofen will help tremendously with jaw stiffness. It's a wonder drug. I am a huge fan of NSAIDs for that reason.
Yeah, and keeping the swelling under control is important. Brenda's taking the ibuprofen partly for that, because she has so many sutures in her mouth that they had to sew so many parts of it, and they had to make some big incisions in there to go down and drill into the bone. That these sutures, that as the flesh heals, it pulls on the suture.
Yes, it does.
Extremely painful. It's really irritating, and
it's like having a mouthful of canker sores. It's awful.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, she she drank like orange juice or something. She found out about the acidity of citrus. That was
tomatoes and oranges. Stay away from them.
Those are not your friends right now.
No,
They're usually your friends. They're not your friends, right?
Anything super salty or now the salt actually that's
Salt
soothing.
is actually okay because that's
Soothing.
actually quite soothing. Yeah, putting saline on there is the best thing you could do.
Oh, it's so healing. It's remarkable. I can remember, going to the beach for a week and you've got the mosquito bites that you've clawed in your sleep and that kind of thing. And you go play in the ocean for a little while and you come out and it's like, who waved the magic healing wand?
Mm-hmm.
It's just remarkable what saline does.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
Warm salt water
know
for
exactly
a sore throat,
yeah.
is just the bomb. And try not to swallow too much of it because it really is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
But you won't have any leg cramps for a while.
Yeah.
Serenity, how are you?
So my next question is, Serenity, how was your day?
It was good. I've just been chilling. We've had a break. I'm sure Prospero's had the same break in the heat wave we have. So
oh yes, thank you, Jesus. It was, we were moving during all of that.
Yeah.
Every damn day.
It's like I more was like, because it would be fine if there was no humidity. The humidity that was fucking me up. But thankfully the humidity finally broke, so it's not as bad.
Well, it broke by raining all over your state.
It did, but in the words of Harry, my state is now Grinch green.
Mother of God, though, did you see we had flash flood warnings last week when all that rain came in that extended, Skep, this is no lie, from Evanston, Illinois, Louisville area, all the way to the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
things were training across areas.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And it wasn't like we were the way you all are west of the Mississippi where it's been nothing but droughts. This was ground that could already handle water and hadn't caked shut. It was still flash flood problems.
Oh, it was saturated from all the other rain that we'd had.
Yeah. But our aquifers are full again.
No kidding.
Send some our way.
I know. It's like, can we just selling water?
Y'all had some significant flooding. Southwest Virginia has had some significant flooding, deadly flooding. But what happened in Kentucky was horrifying.
It was, but it was one of those things like it's kind of the gallows humor of you could tell by watching certain people's reaction to the flood, the people who didn't grow up in the area.
Yeah.
Because like I remember West Virginia from when I was growing up as a teenager, we had massive, terrible floods every year. And we were used to it. Like it was one of those things like you knew when the rainy season came, you had to be prepared for that flash flood warning to come through the NOAA radio. And if it came through, you stayed awake and listened for the rushing and prayed. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like the out-of-staters. Like I remember I watched a video, I think it was in Louisville. It was either Louisville or Lexington. Someone in an SUV just drive right down the road through rushing water. And I'm like, you dumb motherfucker.
Yeah. And
like,
it is unbelievable. I mean, Richmond had an area not far from our NBC affiliate studios where two roads cross, but it's a bottom. And it would always flood. The county and the city and everybody had worked on the drainage issues there, and they were just a pain in the ass. It would always flood. And every time it would happen in heavy thunderstorms, there'd be somebody on the news looking at them going, please don't, please. All right, there's another stalled car. And these were not people in danger of being washed like over a dam or something like that, carried away, because it only really extended across the roadway. But it was taking cars out all the time. People just insist on doing that. And what they don't understand is moving water. A foot up your tires can take your car off the road.
Oh, yeah.
And kill you.
It's like in Huntington, because Huntington's about an hour away from where I live. And Huntington, West Virginia is, because it's a train town, because it was built by a train magnet, we have viaducts that divide the town because there's train tracks that go over top. And the viaducts go down.
Right.
And it's a university town at the same time. So if school is in and we have rains, you literally have the local university, everybody saying, if do not drive underneath the viaducts if it's rained for more than like 30 minutes and it's heavy rain, just don't do it. And every single time out of stater just drives underneath of it because they're like, I'm an SUV. And it's like, honey, watching a country boy drive under one of those things with a dually who's done it before, who knows how heavy his truck is not the same as your tiny little Ford Escape. It's not the same thing.
Yeah. And
Don't do it.
And they're fortunate when it's not moving water.
Oh yeah.
Because
is it Marshall that's in Huntington?
Yes.
Marshall, okay. Sorry. I was
Herd.
sitting here trying to think what that was.
Yeah, Huntington was a big CNO hub.
Yep.
My
great grandfather used to work for CNO.
My mother worked for CNO. My grandmother worked for CNO.
What does CNO stand for?
Chesapeake
Something
in Ohio.
in Ohio?
Chesapeake in Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or as my mom's dear friend used to say when she would call my mother at work, the way the switchboard operator said it, it was Chesapeake in Ohio.
There you go.
So the CNO became known as Chesapeake in Ohio. I have some of their railway china.
Nice.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be awesome, actually.
Chessie, the little kitten.
Yep.
Sleep like a kitten.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen Chessie, haven't you, Skep? It was the logo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, an big advertising push by CNO.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little kitten sleeping, on a pillow with a blanket up, that kind of, and it was.
I'm trying to think if I ever saw this. I don't think I have.
You probably it got basically downgraded into
CNO.
Well, it got downgraded into the silhouette of the cat with its paw out, and it's a black out, and it's it's usually the color of the train, usually yellow, and then it's the black background. Yeah, that thing, that's Chessie.
Yeah, and they used to have Chessie systems on a lot of their engines, and then they basically went to CSX.
Yeah, which is boring.
Which is the current designation. But anybody who's lived in West Virginia or Virginia in particular is wildly familiar with the different iterations of the CNO.
Oh yeah, because it depends on where your accent comes from.
Well, they had 2 huge buildings here in Richmond.
Oh yeah, we hit there's the Wikipedia article, Skep. But we have like 2 or 3 CNO offices. We have, even though a lot of people don't use it anymore because a lot of people don't want to take the train into West Virginia, we have a gigantic Amtrak train station. We got a couple things around in the Charleston area. It's in the Huntington area. It's weird when I talk to my friends because they're like, oh, I wish we had more train stuff. And I was like, well, you have to understand that freight-wise trains are the envy of the world. Because we have a system that everywhere in the world tries to either copy or do something with the freight part.
Stem to stern.
Yeah. And I was like, and that's the reason why trains are always late, because in America, the freight trains take precedence over passenger trains, which is the reason why Amtrak's always late. And I was like, that's the reason why you always have to plan to be 24 hours late if you're on an Amtrak train. Just plan for it. Don't even try, because
I've been on an Amtrak train when it's verged for a multi-mile freight train. I got caught by an enormous freight train coming through nearby. We have tracks nearby, and it's the main line. It's the one that Amtrak runs up through Ashland into DC that hooks up to the stuff that runs the Northeast Corridor.
Yep.
But it's also an enormous freight line.
Yep.
And this son of a gun, I swear to God, it had to be 5 miles long.
Oh yeah, no, they're huge.
I love trains. So I'm the idiot who rolls their windows down to listen to the clack.
I do. I do too.
I love it too.
I find them. Do you know that Huntington, West Virginia, was named for Collis Huntington, he was the guy who consolidated the railroads to form the CNO.
Yep,
I
that's
did
why
not
they
know
had
that.
such a presence there. One of my
I knew who
dad's
Collis Huntington was. I didn't know I don't
Well,
know
yeah,
why I didn't know
like
he was a railroad guy.
if
I
you
don't
look at a sky like from top down good God, map of Huntington, we're literally a
Mhm.
grid. Like that, Huntington is literally one of the easiest towns I have ever navigated because it's grid until you get past the viaducts on the other side because that's where all the people worked. But like the actual business part of Huntington near the university and everything like that,
Oh
we're
yeah,
just
it
a
is. It's
straight
all
grid.
right angles. I'm looking at it. It
Yeah.
is. Everything's a right.
like Manhattan.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's Manhattan is that way, and so is Chicago.
Hmm?
Chicago's
Yep.
very much that
Well,
way. Chicago's only got one diagonal street.
Astor had a fair bit to do with the diagonal nature of, when the land development, because of all that land he owned up around Bloomingdale. I remember when the penny dropped about Bloomingdale's department store.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, Bloomingdale, got it. It's
Yep.
like ding, 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 ding. But from the park down, I'm not talking about lower Manhattan because that's where you do have the diagonals. But
Mhm.
except for Broadway,
It is a grid. It
it's
really is.
it's
You
a
can
it's a
tell where
grid.
you are in this city just
Mhm.
by looking at a corner.
The
street
back
sign.
bay, the back bay of Boston, from the Commons and Public Gardens, the back bay was laid out in a grid between
Mhm.
Huntington
Oh, that's right. That's right.
and the river,
You
basically.
Yeah.
You
We have
Again,
a
you want to hear something really frustrating that you guys will appreciate this because you both understand grid lines in a city and things like that. If you look at Dallas, the downtown is a grid, okay, and all the streets are at right angles to each other and they make sense, and that extends out in a roughly diamond shaped pattern. The inner core of downtown Dallas is a roughly diamond shaped pattern when you're looking at northeast south, and when you due north is through one of the points in the diamond, the top point in the diamond. Okay, and then all the other streets are laid out in a grid. Also, all the streets surrounding the diamond at 45 degrees
No, for Christ's
difference.
sake, that's insane. That's like MC Escher designed a city.
It is so annoying because you'll think, well, I'm going east, and suddenly you're going north.
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
and or you'd be going south, and suddenly you'll be going west. And this makes no sense at all. But that is absolutely one of the most frustrating things about driving in Dallas is that ridiculous. If you look at a map of Dallas, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Just go, holy crap.
Well, it's like the big city that I always went to when I lived in West Virginia, because I've lived in a bunch of other places. Like I lived up in Fairmont and stuff like that. I'm so used to Huntington, and Huntington being in a grid, when you get used to that and you go to any other fucking city that's on the Ohio River, most of them are not grids. They're usually either like a
Huntington
fan
is not
pattern.
a big city.
It's
No.
not, but when you get so used to finding road, just going, oh, okay, well, this is Fifth Avenue. If I go this way, it's going to be Fourth Avenue. When you get used to doing that, and then you move to Louisville, which is like a fan pattern, you're like, I'm going to kill this city planner.
Richmond is a grid.
Louisville suffers from the big river there.
Oh yeah, I know, but still, it's like I will hurt the city planner in every way I can think of. What is wrong with you? Because I would literally be going down an avenue, and then it's such a subtle like lean that it would just subtly lean. I'd be like, oh, I'm going north, and I don't have a new car, but I have a newer enough one that it will tell you when you're changing like directions, like northeast, and it would change, and I'd be like, are you shitting me right now?
Yeah.
No, there are trick streets you have to learn in Louisville.
Oh yeah,
to get around. There are like 3 or 4. Seriously, there are 3 or 4 trick streets that just good streets to know.
Bardstown
to
Road.
How to get from here to there, because there are parts of Louisville where you can get there from there, but it's a lot of
it's a
lights.
nightmare.
It's a lot of surface street.
Bardstown Road in Louisville is really nice because that's the college part. But
Yeah,
it's
it's down by the university, but
yeah, you can mistakenly end up. It's called Shively, but we always used to call it Shiv, which is the bad part of town because
right.
um,
I even know where that is. I know where you're
yeah.
talking about.
Oh God, like if you're not paying attention, you can end up there and you're just like, I
Yeah.
am too white for this neighborhood.
Well, it is a little bit like St. Louis. The best view of the
Yep.
arch is from East St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
East St. Louis, Illinois.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
Yeah. Where you're likely to get killed just
Yeah.
standing there.
which of course my cousin and I didn't know when we rode in a
Mhm.
red Pontiac Fiero to park right along the river in a dirt lot to take pictures of the arch. And then later we're told, boy, it's a good thing it was broad daylight, middle of the day, or you probably would have disappeared somewhere into the Mississippi River. And it was like,
Yep.
oh, cool. So I can tell people I've been to East St. Louis. I mean, it did look hinky,
Mm-hmm.
even in broad daylight, but it's like if you
I visited
Here
East
be
St. Louis, and all I
dragons.
got was
Yeah,
this
basically.
lousy bullet wound.
Yeah, I know. But the view of the arch is exquisite from over there. That's your best vista because you don't have cityscape. You're shooting across the river. But whatever. Richmond is weird because, of course, the older part of town is a grid.
Mm-hmm.
Churchill through the bottom up to what began the west end of town, where there is a thing in a neighborhood that is called the Fan because they fan streets out. Now they straighten back out to a grid,
That fan's what fuck you.
but they don't. People call the area that is the Fan. My mother, when she moved back here, was like, what are they talking about? XYZ being in the Fan. That's not the Fan. The Fan is this to there, And I was like, Mom, you're old school. Now people want the Fan to go all the way to fucking Short Pump, because of the elan of because it's most of them are short gap separate houses, Skep, row houses.
Yeah.
But they're there's some really nice houses in there. I mean, the bones of these houses are very good. They have nice porches, usually alleys behind them. Some actually have muses. And it is the quaint, pretty, semi-historic area.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, Monument Avenue picks up basically where the Fan begins.
Oh, I'm glad I want to ask you about
Monument-less Avenue.
Did they take all of the monuments down?
They left Arthur Ashe up.
No, seriously. Did they really take all the monuments down?
Uh-huh. And you know where they are? Next
Do
to
I
the
want
water.
to?
They put them next to the water treatment plant. They're just lying on the ground next to the water treatment plant, from what I understand.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, the Jeb Stuart monument in particular was a in-motion equestrian monument. They didn't move Lee there because Lee was state property, so I don't know what the disposition of Robert Edward is. But Stonewall and Jeff Davis, who gives a shit where Jeff Davis goes? They could have blown Jeff Davis into a million little pieces, and I would have applauded. But Matthew Fontaine Maury, those kinds of people, Stonewall, Maury, Jeb Stuart are all by the water treatment plant.
Slight addendum to topic, but Costin is asking what a muse is. MEWS.
MEWS. A muse is
a MUSE is different from an MEWS, which is a form of early warning system. missile early warning systems are different from the ancient deities who used to inspire
But
artists.
I'm also talking about carriage muses.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I
Yeah,
thought it was carriage
yeah,
houses.
The English carriage muse, or it's an alley. It's an alley, but it is more park-like than your average alley. It'll usually
It's the rich
have
people.
carriage house garages nowadays, frequently with apartments above them.
Mhm.
I'd forgotten about that use of the word.
That back gardens and open into. Sometimes it would have paved courtyards within the muse, but it was generally where carriages were kept. So you would have carriage houses as well as stables back. But like if you consider Mayfair or some area like that in London back in the day, some of those streets would have muses behind them. Now a lot of them appear to be alleys with carriage garages.
Mhm.
That's what is behind a fair number of those streets in Richmond.
Mhm.
Is an alley, and there'll be small carriage garages in there.
Yeah.
But it would be where you would store your town carriages and that kind of thing, because most livery was kept by a coachman in the employ of the home, that kind of thing. And some of the muse areas are quite attractive.
Oh yeah, I know there's some up in the last one I saw. There was one up in Boston. I can't remember if it had a name or not, but that was the last one
It's
I
probably
saw. It was,
in Beacon Hill.
oh yeah, that I know for sure.
Yeah,
I think it had a specific street name or something like
yeah.
that. Like,
Oh yeah, a lot of them have picked up street names because they've been able to turn a lot of those carriage houses into apartments or.
and a lot of those houses, because I know I saw because on YouTube they have like tours of houses. I know there was a tour of a carriage house in London that it looked tiny from the outside.
They're
Until you
huge
got
on the
into
inside.
business, and then it was like, holy mother of God! No wonder that thing is expensive.
Well, if they had stables backing them,
Yeah.
You're dealing with a town coach for an aristocrat would have 4 horses.
Oh yeah.
A phaeton or something like that would have a matched pair.
Yep.
It takes room to store those vehicles.
Oh yeah.
You
They're
know,
huge. Yeah, they're
you
massive.
can go to like somebody's little estate where they have the carriage buildings
Yep.
off to the side, and they look a little shanty-ish. And then you open up the door and you realize, holy cow, there's a Brougham in here, a phaeton in here,
And they're all lacquered and shiny, and you're just
Yeah.
like, "Ah, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
A minute ago we were talking about Monument Avenue and the statues there. This is interesting. The 4 city-owned statues, which were of that's everybody but General Lee,
Yes.
will remain in storage under tarps outside the city's sewage treatment plant.
Yes, yeah, that's
The state has not said where the statue of Robert E. Lee would be taken, describing it only as secure storage. But Richmond television station WRIC, citing unnamed officials, reported Tuesday that it's headed for the grounds of a prison outside of Richmond.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yep, that's where General Lee and
I
Traveler
thought they were going to
are going to be.
I thought they were going to send him up to. You ought to send him to Stratford Hall, the Lee home. Yep. I mean, the thing about Jeb Stewart is where I'm sitting now. He was killed about 5 miles from here, tops, maybe 3 as the crow flies. I mean, I know there's a monument where he was killed. Nobody's gone after that yet because it wasn't in the middle of Monument Avenue.
Well, also
the Maury
he was killed by the good guys.
Yes, of course he was killed by the good guys, and he was a bit of a flamboyant twat, which made it kind of easy to hit him. But he was also one hell of a cavalry commander.
He was a good cavalryman. from
Yeah, he
everything I've
was.
heard.
You know, and he was not unadmired by the other cavalrymen who played for the good team. Nor was Lee unadmired, nor was Stonewall Jackson.
But
the
he was
Yankees,
flamboyant.
the Yankees did. Oh yeah, 'cause the cockaded cap, you know, the hat,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. He was very much a cavalier.
Yeah.
But the that statue, because it was an equestrian in movement statue,
Mhm.
was the most beautiful of all of them because
The
of
Jeb Stewart one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a gorgeous statue because you have a cavalryman aboard a horse in motion. Now it is facing north. It was facing north with the one of the horse's hooves off the ground, which was an indication that you were killed in battle and you
Yep.
were facing the enemy. It in quotes enemy. Nobody was considering that at the time that statue was. And the one of Little Sorrel with Stonewall aboard her. Him, it was a gelding, I think. Also
Is
faced
that
north.
considered trans or no?
Nah, no, that's just considered
It
butchery.
wasn't a trans horse. Okay, it's good to know.
Yeah, it's
Want to be
called
inclusive here. On
genital mutilation. You can't do that to a
Okay.
horse. Yeah, so I can't wait to see everybody get aboard a stallion in heat.
Mhm.
Or, you know, sniffing a mare. We gelded horses for a reason. It was so we could ride them. But the yeah, I said water treatment plant to try to make it more gentle, Skep. But it is
What
the
I was just reading an article that I
yeah.
saw about it. That's just
Matthew
it's-
Fontaine Maury belongs on the grounds at Annapolis.
Oh, of course he does. He was the father of modern oceanography.
He should be next to a statue of David Mahan.
There,
It would be
there's
like the
so much
perfect thing to have two lions
stupidity.
of
Yes,
of navigation.
oceanography and
Yeah, Pathfinder to the Seas, map the currents of the globe. But
right.
he served in the Confederate military, so he is a trash human being, and therefore none of his
Exactly.
accomplishments matter at all. And you can just get rid of those current maps. And for all those people, I certainly hope they never find themselves adrift anywhere.
Kidding.
What
do you?
What would they do
I'm
if they
gonna-
knew about the cartographers of the past? Burn all the
Oh.
maps?
I want to ask you a question about this because this is something you know
words.
a lot more about than I do. Do you put this at the feet of postmodernism?
Yes.
Do you really?
Well, moral relativism and postmodernism have done so much damage to people's sense of time.
Yeah.
It has caused that in modern age, Homo sapiens narcissus, I think should be the name. There's no more Homo sapiens sapiens.
Mm.
It would be Narcissus. Yeah. Homo sapiens narcissus. They are utterly self-absorbed. Nothing of any import occurred before the moment they reached consciousness.
Mm.
If their feelings are offended by something that happened in Genghis Khan's time, they want redress for it.
So
Now-
you're basically saying that if you mix postmodernism with this kind of radical egalitarianism, this equity bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
you end up
With insane lunatics who have no sense of time or space and are
with the sex and identity, and
well, yeah. I mean,
those are illiberal values, in my opinion.
well, they absolutely are because they're demanding compliance.
Mm-hmm.
The demand of compliance, excuse me, is what irked the founders. Okay,
Right.
that they were forced to pay taxes to England when they were not allowed parliamentary
And they
representation.
did not have a voice in government.
Yeah, they had no parliamentary representation. they would have sailed representatives from these 13 colonies
Totally.
to sit in Parliament. That's really
Totally.
that's what they wanted. They wanted parliamentary representation, and the only people who listened to them at the time were a scant handful in Parliament. I mean, there were people who were well aware and wanted to address the problems that were occurring in the colonies, but they could not. Well, the Whigs. I mean, the Tories are always for the king, for the crown, for the screw you. Was it back in those days? So it was the reformers, it was the firebrands, and nobody wanted to listen to any of them. I'd have to go back and dig through my book, Skep, to pull a name out, but none of them are the big names.
Mm.
You know, it'd be backbenchers and Whig radicals and those kinds of losers, people that read Mary Wollstonecraft's book. You know, that kind of thing.
Well, you know, Burke was very much on the side of...
Yes, he was, to preserve the monarchy. Burke was a very peculiar guy, if you think about it, because he was very...
Well, he sided with the Americans in the war for independence.
Yes,
he was completely on their side.
He did, because he thought that was the only way to preserve the monarchy. You know, because he was still a monarchist. Yeah. So he wanted... What caused Burke to maybe be perceived as a little more conservative was the French Revolution.
Oh, absolutely. He thought that he thought the French were a bunch of pigs. I think he even called them a bunch of pigs.
Well, the French completely misapprehended the point of the American Revolution,
right?
As did the Russians. The American Revolution will, I'm firmly convinced, remain unique because of time, proximity, circumstance.
Yeah, particularly the
geographic circumstance.
Yeah,
you cannot have an inconus revolution that isn't going to devolve into a bloodbath. You can't. We did it. It was called the Civil War.
Yeah, but we had the Atlantic Ocean separating us from Britain.
We had 4 to 6 weeks troop transport time. They moved all the Canadian. They moved their Canadian forces into New York and New England, but they had to bring more people in because they couldn't scatter them all the way to Georgia. And they had the mountains to contend with all through there. And they had some pissy guerrilla fighters. Yeah. Not to mention the Scots-Irish, who were predominantly Scots, who had been in Northern Ireland for a generation or so, who had come here and settled, who were in the mountains and in the south. 1 to 4
generations is what I read.
Yeah, is
1 to 4 generations. The Scots spent in Ireland, the ones we call the Scots-Irish, who came.
Yeah, and they were still Scots, but they were called Scots-Irish because that's where they came from. Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's a peculiar use of the nomenclature. I'm sure there were Irishmen among them, but they were predominantly Scot. And they were predominantly in the South, and they were predominantly the mountain people of the South also. They were the coastal people too, but they were... And the British didn't stand a chance against them. Mm-hmm. Those people had generations of hatred toward the British, plus they were very American.
Yeah, I don't doubt that it wasn't hard to build up an army.
Not out of Appalachia.
Yeah.
And you know, the Scots have... It's interesting. The Scots-Irish in the United States have made up the preponderance of the United States military for a very long period of time.
Yep,
I
think.
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
I think. Now this number could be wrong now, but I think at one point, like, West Virginians made up most of the sniper corps.
Hmm?
So
you go rabbit hunting when you gotta shoot 200 yards down in a holler to get your
fuck
rabbit.
squirrel. We go
Yeah,
squirrel
but
hunting.
yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can put a bullet in the eye of some crowd, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
with a Nazi uniform on. So the
Nasty motherfuckers.
yeah, and the Scots, you know, had reason to want to fuck the British back,
Yeah.
and you know, because some of the early Scot settlers, particularly in North Carolina, continued to speak the Gaelic. Their slaves spoke Gaelic. That'll tell you something. I mean, Swansboro, North Carolina, which is below the Bogue Banks. You were in the up around the Newport Atlantic Beach area, right, Skep, when you were doing
Well, I was at OCS. Yeah, that was at Newport.
I don't mean Newport, Rhode Island. I mean when you were in.
Oh,
did
when I was in the Navy? Was I?
When you did this sail though down the banks across the
Yeah,
Chesapeake Bay at one point?
Of course.
Down there's also a Newport, North Carolina, just to confuse everybody.
There's Newports everywhere.
Yeah, above Wilmington, but below Emerald Isle. Not all that far from Jacksonville, North Carolina. Another military town. Is a small port town called Swansboro. And that was a Scot settlement where the African slaves spoke Gaelic. That was the language of the people in the area. And then a lot of those people headed west into the mountains. But, you know, you go through the southern tier of North Carolina and you have Scotland County. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, you just flat out named the county Scotland County. But you look at their surnames and you look at, you know, the heritage, you look at the music of the peoples out there, and it's and then after the Civil War, a lot of them migrated to the West, which is why you get some of the linguistic characteristics in the West that you do. You could hear somebody have a vague Southern accent in Wyoming, you know, in that they might be dropping their G's or saying y'all or reckon. You don't hear people say, I reckon XYZ in the North as much as you hear it in the South. But the Queen will still use, you know, the verb to reckon.
I have to just tell you, given the way our conversation has been going, I found this article that I'd run across. A special forces unit with the Irish Defense Forces made history after they became the first non-USA team to win the U.S. Army International Sniper Competition. The Army Ranger Wing won the overall and international categories in the United States Sniper Competition in Fort Benning, Georgia. They're now considered the best sniper team in the world after winning the prestigious events. 37 two-person teams shot for top honors, with teams from the U.S., Denmark, Canada, Germany, and the U.K. all vying for first place. Needless to say, the American media were very impressed, if somewhat surprised, that the Irish team came out on top of the pile, beating the likes of the U.S. Rangers, Airborne, Marine Corps, FBI SWAT team, and the SEALs.
Well, that's fun, actually.
I just love that. I love that.
That is actually quite fun.
A bunch of Irish guys come out and just
blow them away, quite literally. Yeah.
It was their two-person team won that competition, but for team scores, still the Army Rangers. God, there's nobody like Army Ranger snipers.
Yeah,
not even the SEALs. The SEALs never win this competition. Never win this.
That's not as, you know, when I think of SEALs, I don't think of their snipers the way I think of Army snipers. just
Well,
because
they go through the Army sniper. That's where
they
they're
go through
trained.
yeah,
They go through the same training. They're just trained up as Army snipers. It's just that they have all this other stuff they're really good at.
yeah, and
It's just adding a qualification.
and they're vaguely insane. It's you have to be
yeah.
to put yourself through that.
Well, it's interesting.
Healthy version of insane, if you know what I mean.
I'll debate that one, but
Well,
it's
depends
funny
on which
because
seal we're talking about.
it's funny to watch Hollywood a little bit, and YouTube
Mhm.
follows Hollywood because for the longest time, Hollywood was obsessed with only getting Marines and Marines opinions for whenever they did modern military stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're starting to shift to Navy SEALs now, and I'm like, y'all know there's more than just like 2 groups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an
There's
entire
Green
world.
Berets, there's paratroopers, there's rangers, there's so many things. Stop just focusing because
The Air Force has the forward air
Air Force-
controllers.
Those guys, those guys
Those
frequently
guys are
work.
truly crazy
Well,
yeah,
they work with the SEAL teams and
Yeah.
and that
But
kind
all
of
the time.
it's funny because it's all usually based on like a personality. The Marine thing
Yeah.
with Hollywood started before I was born, so I have no idea who the personality is they all grafted to. But now it's
Audie Murphy. It was Audie Murphy with the Marine thing,
and the Navy SEAL now that everybody's kind of gravitating toward is the Wilco guy. I can't Jocko Wilco or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name, and I'm just like, I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, I respect what you had to go through. I don't want to fucking listen to it. I just tell YouTube no every time because it's like, it's the problem every piece of media has. They'll get one expert
Fixate.
and they'll just use that one expert, and it's like, there's other people, guys. I swear to God, there's other people. Talk to other people, please, for the love of God.
You have a lot of experienced people in this. You could get different voices involved, you know. Yeah,
especially
they do.
people who actually fought in something in the last 10 years. It's like it's like goddamn. Like I want like actual true like paratroopers to actually say what it's like to be a paratrooper in a movie and to tell them what it's like, not what a Marine or a Navy SEAL thinks a paratrooper's job is, and then to get certain things wrong, and then you're just sitting there going,
Well,
did
now
you even talk to anybody?
Well, you've got to remember, SEALs go through jump school.
Well, they do, but it's still
it is a different form
Yeah.
compared to the 101 or something like
Yeah.
that, or the
And that's-
82nd Airborne.
And that's my
But-
thing is like, it's just talk to other people for the love of God. I don't know whose manager you have, whose dick you're sucking. I don't know, but talk to other people.
They
Like,
please. They do tend to fixate. They do indeed tend to fixate. And Hollywood has long been fixated on Skep. You're going to appreciate this, the crayon eaters.
How
Yes.
so?
Sands of Iwo Jima.
Yep.
I mean, all the way through.
Jarhead.
That
everything.
just, and you know, look, even my mother fixated on Marines when she was in college. And she actually got mad at me when I said, "Those are the guys with the bellhop costumes, right?"
They do have some of the best uniforms. in the
No, just
military,
to
though.
annoy her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to annoy her. But you
their
know,
uniform
it's
on
the
point,
sky
though.
cap look. You
Yeah.
know, or
Still on point though.
it is. No, the Marine dress uniform is exquisite.
Who's the gay man who dressed you all? Like, why can't the rest of the military have good uniforms like that? Come on now.
They do. The Navy dress.
The Navy
I know the
has
Navy-
killer uniforms.
Navy ice cream suit is something else.
Well, it's like, but they're like the only two.
Look how shiny they are in the sun. You know, it's,
Yeah. Or the Cracker Jack. You know.
The Cracker Jack uniform.
The Cracker Jack uniform is
Yeah.
a good-looking uniform. I'm glad they
I
brought that back.
I think
I
That was actually gotten rid of when I was in the military, and then they brought it back.
you know, the Army has such exquisitely dull uniforms.
I know they do. I'm
Yes,
like,
they do.
oh,
It is. They are
Makes me hurt.
so drab that even
You know what they do? You know what they do to make them less drab? They cover them with medals. Absolutely
go.
festoon them with medals.
their fruit,
Look at all
their
my
fruit
brains.
salad stuff. Yeah,
got out of bed 75 times in a row without falling down. Here's your medal.
yeah. My dad. Oh God.
Sorry, Army guys.
Dad, no,
Get a little razz for all your campaign medals and all the zillions
Ooh, I need to look this up
of
now.
ribbons.
awards you give each other.
My dad was so unimpressed with his experience with the Army in World War II. I mean, he was utterly unimpressed with it, in part because he sat for like 4 months while they mustered out all the officers before they'd mustered out all the little crappy pleb people, right? Now, he was suffering awfully in San Luis Obispo, California.
Oh, poor baby.
Well, what they were doing is they were sorting through everybody's points to determine who had to go be part of the occupation army in Japan.
Yeah.
My dad already knew he had enough points that they were not going to send him to Japan.
Mhm.
So he sat for a couple of months in San Luis Obispo, basically just cooling his jets. He was at Camp Carson, then they moved him over to San Luis Obispo, which was a marked improvement from Colorado. But as pretty as it was, he wanted to come home.
Mhm.
He had a belly full of being away from home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, but all the field promotion guys have to be, booted out first. And then they're just going to let us buck privates, go.
Yeah.
But they
What's-
wasn't a buck private. He was a buck sergeant. He was a buck sergeant by that point. But
that's the way they did that back then, though. They really had no better idea how to do it. They were doing a lot of things for the first time.
yeah, because it was such an enormous
Your dad got to be
manpower thing. I mean, they did the ASTP thing, and he got to experience that. I mean, he got to go to Princeton and be utterly bumfuzzled by why he was there studying optics when that was, math and physics were not his strong suit, but he was competent in them, apparently. But it was just, of all the things, he wanted language where he had demonstrated some competency, and they're like, we got all the people in the world who can learn to speak another language.
Man, sometimes I think about the experience that your father must have had, or that he had. What that must have been like is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
that's just phenomenal.
It was odd. I think it was mainly odd. He made some very good.
When did he go overseas?
August of 44.
Okay.
After the D-Day invasion, technically, I guess you would say they were part of the Big Red One. Because the 9th Army, I think, fell under the 1st Army in movement. Dad, they went into France, and they were north of Bastogne when the bulge occurred. So they
were on the north side of the bulge.
Yeah,
gotcha.
They heard some of the fighting, but then they had to sit until Bastogne was relieved because nothing was coming through because of the bulge. They were sitting,
getting all their gasoline. I think that was where they got gas stopped.
And then they moved across the Ruhr Valley into Germany.
Right.
And down into part of what became East Germany, because I'm pretty sure Nordhausen was in.
What town was Nordhausen in?
Nordhausen. Nordhausen itself.
I mean, what
state?
Province? Yeah, province of Germany is what I'm trying.
Nordhausen district is a district in the Thuringia, Germany. I have no idea what the hell to pronounce that. I'm butchering it like a motherfucker.
Thuringia.
There you go.
I think would be
Turingia.
Or Thuringia.
It's like
for English speakers, it's
Thuringia. I don't know.
Oh no, that is let's see.
It's toward Leipzig, south of Magdeburg, Saxony, Thuringia.
That would have been very close to the border, but I think that is
I don't.
still
I
no,
don't.
no, that is East Germany. That
Yeah,
would be because there's Hanover and
yeah. They got Hanover, if I recall, and they got Magdeburg and Leipzig in East Germany. So Frankfurt was more close to the border. Dad never ended. One of his comments was he ended up tragically disappointed that he never ended up anywhere where there was anything of any value tourist wise. He said, never saw Paris, never saw Amsterdam, never saw, Brussels, never saw Berlin, never, not, it was this little town, that little town, the other little place. Which is the way it goes.
sorry, I
Anyway.
was just disconnected again.
Yeah, didn't. Serenity was off with the doggies, so I just kept talking till I ran out of air. I'm good at that.
Yeah.
Mm.
What was the name of the province? Was it Thuringen?
Thuringia. Thuringia. Thuringia.
Was just right there. I'm looking at a map of the old East-West line, and yep,
It was right on the edge, if I recall. I'm glad to see Skep's routers acting up again. Hi, y'all.
Anyway, this is
Mhm.
so much fun, everyone. But I am going to cut this a little bit short tonight because
his router keeps shitting the bed on him. Interesting little technical problem. His router has reached the end of its natural
I'm having
life.
trouble. I'm going to send it around. Let everybody have one last crack at this.
Well-
Randy, was there anything you wanted to?
She's muted with the dogs.
She's muted out there with the dogs, huh?
So
We should probably wait for her to come back.
yeah,
but
we can do that. It's
we
funny.
we can,
Your
we can
router
talk for a few more minutes.
Your router took a nice little break.
Oh, it's been cutting out. I just have been being quiet.
Yeah.
When it cuts out, I just go.
No,
silent.
but I could hear it in that. There's no. You know how there's a little background noise from everybody.
Yeah, exactly. You can hear it cut out. Can you?
Yeah, I can hear it just go to. It's like, oh, good. There it goes again. It is what it is. Life is fascinating when it comes to computers.
Oh man.
I heard your inhale. You went blank, and then I heard your inhale.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's
Congratulations, you get to shop for a new router.
well, yeah. There are things to try first. But yeah, you're probably right. It probably is simply worn out.
Well, you could take it into the backyard and unload a Glock into it.
Yes, I could.
And then you could say, I know what's wrong with the router. Somebody shot the shit out of it.
Actually, technically, we're in the city limits, so we're only supposed to shoot people trying to break into our houses.
All right, well then throw the router at them, and then when they catch it, shoot the router.
I tell you, it's been interesting times around here. We have had a minor string of crimes in my neighborhood, just little stuff, but it's breaking and entering type stuff.
Oh, good.
And it's because they're building there is a big construction activity not too far from us where they're building a subdivision.
A lot of transient traffic because of that.
A lot of transients, a lot of people coming in, contractors
Mhm.
who stand at a particular corner in town and get picked up for day labor, and some of them aren't.
Yes. It's exactly the same around here. I know exactly what you're
As
talking
picky
about.
about the rest of us are.
Yeah, I mean, most
So
of these
they kind
people,
of have a
most of these people are good, hardworking people,
oh, absolutely they are, and
and all it
and
takes,
one in about 100
yeah,
is a piece of shit who will walk into your home and
hmm
take your shit.
and that's
Just
any group of people. If you think
that's
about it,
absolutely true. It's
about 1 in
absolutely
100 is a conscienceless shitbag or a borderline sociopath.
yeah. Not nothing borderline about it. There are many sociopaths walking around, in my opinion.
Oh, good lord! A lot of them have
Undiagnosed psychopaths.
a lot of them have YouTube channels. A fair number of them have Twitter accounts.
One of them is Vice President of the United States.
Oh, my dear God. Yeah, I wouldn't pin that on psychopathy. I think that is straight up sociopathy.
No, she's a sociopath.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying. That was what I was trying to say is that Kamala Harris is shown sociopathic tendencies again and again and
a
again.
man
She
was
is
condemned to
disconnected from
death
people.
while she sat on exculpatory
I
evidence.
know she did.
And even though the death penalty in California is a joke, and we all know it's a joke,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That does not matter. You had exculpatory evidence and allowed a man to hear in a court of law that a group of his peers had determined that he was fit to die. I don't care whether the execution was ever going to happen or not. Nobody should hear that when there is proof of their innocence in the hands of the attorney general. That's a disgrace. She should have lost her license to practice law because of doing that. That is so contemptible to me. It is so utterly immoral. How do you sleep at night?
Yeah. I think she just disconnects from that stuff. I think she literally does not care. She doesn't care about anything except herself, the things that immediately affect her.
Well, then that is a rather intensely stone cold psychopathic personality.
That's why I said that
Sociopathic, definitely.
she's a sociopath at least, and she may have some deep seated psychiatric issues. And it's interesting watching the Democrats writhe and squirm trying to get rid of her.
Oh yeah, because I mean they know they've got a problem with the chief executive, and they don't like the junior chief executive.
No, you're absolutely right.
It was all fun and games
Mm-hmm.
till it was quite obvious that there was nobody home.
Yeah.
And
there was nobody competent at home.
Nobody competent at home, and Mrs. Nobody Competent isn't competent. This is all about playing the role. That's why I call her Dr. Lady Macbeth. It really is about the appearance of power and the title and that, the woman who would be queen. The only person I can think that comes close to her in history is the
who?
The Baltimore socialite who twice divorced, managed to snag the heir to the throne.
Oh.
Of England. Yeah, the Duchess of Windsor. That woman, you want to talk about a sociopath.
Oh, God, yes. She was absolutely
Wallace Simpson was, I mean, there's narcissism, and then there's Wallace Simpson level narcissism. And
no kidding.
And
she can teach Donald Trump
Oh my
She,
God.
she could have instructed him on how to do it right.
Twisted Sister, too. Twisted Sister.
Yep.
I mean, there was some psychosexual stuff going on in that
Well,
relationship.
she was evil.
Yes, she was.
She was truly evil. People think, oh, she was just
She left him to die
brassy
in his bed alone, basically. She captivated him.
cunt. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
she was a cunt. She
got,
was absolutely a cunt.
got no time for Wallace Simpson. It's
No.
just one of the real vicious anti-heroes in American history.
Yeah, and the fact that there's still people running around admiring her, and unfortunately,
And we offloaded her on Britain.
yeah, I know that was kind of really cruel of us.
It was mean.
But Baltimore breathed a sigh of relief, I'm sure.
I'm sure the whole city probably had a better day.
But that's okay. We
when she left.
offloaded a true princess in Grace Kelly on Monaco.
Yep, we did.
So we balanced.
She
the
was a great
scales.
person, I thought.
Yes, she was. She could have been
Terrific.
a vain and atrocious human being because she was so mainline and privileged in her upbringing and beautiful. So she had been graced with so much, but she
Yes.
but she stood in fine service to the people of Monaco and did not demonstrate selfishness. Unfortunately,
Kind of was a soccer mom, really.
Yeah, she was. And she chubbed up, which was adorable.
I know. Everybody loved that. Or they just made us love her more.
Well, she became matronly. And she was still absolutely as beautiful.
The princess turned into mom.
Yes, she
that
absolutely
just makes
did.
Americans misty.
She and the Queen Mother, I think,
Queen
the Queen Mom was just amazing. And Elizabeth, too. And what poor Elizabeth is having to go through in her twilight years with those damned ingrates.
What's her name? Meghan Markle.
Yeah, that's another Mala Simpson.
Oh God, yes. In fact, she may be. She really is. I hadn't thought about the similarity, but there really is.
She studied the wrong Duchess. She studied the wrong Duchess.
Nobody else got that, but I got that.
Yeah, she should study the Duchess of Cambridge.
Yep.
Kate is a Grace Kelly.
Yep. Weighty Katie turned out to be the jewel. I just find that.
She's a smart girl.
Yes,
she's a charming girl. She's a pretty girl. She isn't taken with herself. She's taken with her husband and her children. And isn't that refreshing? Because he seems taken with her and his children.
I wonder.
Got the same bit of his mom.
About Harry these days.
I think it's probably tearing him apart.
Yeah.
They were so close. Brought so close. In particular, in that wretched time of your life that is your teen years, anyway.
What do you think the over-under is on Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage? How many years? Over-under. How many years you give it?
I'll give the youngest kid elementary school before it all falls apart.
Yeah, I think when the youngest is 7 years old, it will not last another year. When they start getting enough independence where
they
of a sudden you're not doing a lot of stuff together anymore.
That might make they may wait for Elizabeth to pass.
Well,
but I don't think they
some little thing's going to come by and say, "You getting tired of Meghan, big fella?"
Yeah, I don't know whether he'll be the one to wander because I think she's got his cock and balls mounted on a mantle somewhere.
Could be, but
I don't know. I mean, he was quite the horny little bastard. You know who disappointed me so tremendously was Andrew. He had such incredible potential. He was a quite good naval officer.
Yes, he was. He was very well respected.
And good pilot and all those kinds of spiffy things. And served a very long time in the Navy. He wasn't just farking around. You know, he
And then he turns
stayed.
out to be just another trashy horn dog.
Trashy horn dog, and you know, okay, say what you will, I'm not going to call him a pedo, and the reason being is Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were running a honeypot. It's obvious what they were doing,
Oh yeah,
and
that
that's
absolutely is.
that's a sting where basically you get 16, 17-year-old girls who could easily pass for 25.
Mhm.
As your lures, and then you've got somebody by the short and curlies, and you shake them.
Yeah.
You shake them down for the money, you shake them down for the connections, you shake them down for whatever you can. They were running a giant honeypot, and a lot of stupid people who should have known better got caught in it. But randy guys who like young women, and I presume most of them did think these women were of age.
Mm.
There's always been a wink and a nod in that trade.
Yeah.
Nobody checks ID. And if the women don't appear to be coerced, etc.,
It's all good until it's not.
it's all good until it's not. Yeah. And
Yeah.
but I won't excuse. They're never wondering why there was a stable of girls on an island. I mean, yes, I understand about the Mayflower Madam, and I do understand that there are women who enter into prostitution willingly. But all those men and women who participated in this knew that a large number of women and men do not enter prostitution willingly. They enter it out of absolute desperation, or they were fucking kidnapped, you know, slaved.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them seemed to show the least bit of interest in that. And in that, goddamn them all. All of them.
I'm sorry, say that last again.
I said, goddamn them all.
Yeah, yeah. A plague on all their houses.
If you go to a cat house in Las Vegas where the girls hire themselves out there legally, you know, out of their own volition, that's one thing. You go to a place that you know is basically a bordello. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Well, no, don't fuck you. Hope your pecker falls off. You know, I mean, it's just it's thoughtless.
May you be visited by the AIDS fairy.
At least the monkeypox fairy.
Yeah.
I don't know how I could have possibly gotten monkeypox. There were 2 major orgies in Europe right before this outbreak that were known. I mean, they were publicized. Everybody knew about
Disease
them.
of gay men, or are we not allowed to say that? Probably are not allowed to say that.
I don't think so. St. Anthony of Fauci.
It's definitely not true. Definitely not true.
St. Anthony of Fauci will get upset with you.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't want to get Tony mad at me.
God almighty. His damned pension is going to be more than the president's. That's amazing what you can do if you're a midwit bureaucrat who knows how to sniff the right butt.
Yeah.
He's that ambitious dog at the park who was like, you want me to hump your buster? Okay.
He's a coward. That's what I can't forgive about him. He's an absolute coward.
No, and yeah, he is. He's a piece of trash, but that's the way it goes. I guess Serenity and the dogs must have fallen down a well.
That's what I'm thinking, because I think she's involved in something that's going to take longer than the end of this show, because I really did want to end this at about an hour. So if it's okay with you,
yeah, we'll say Serenity's goodbyes, and I'll let her know what happened. It's easy to do.
Absolutely. But I do want to thank chat for coming out and listening to us, and thank you and Serenity for joining me this evening. It's always great to come out, spend spend a little time with our friends, talking about the things we like to talk about in this long form conversation.
And haha,
But,
Liz Cheney lost.
Yeah, Liz Cheney lost. Yeah, she actually lost a long time ago, but
Yeah.
tonight
That apple fell right at the base of the rotten tree, and it finally caught up with her. Ha
Boy,
ha.
no kidding, no kidding. Anyway, so but with that, we're going to leave you this evening, and we'll do this again next Tuesday. Of course, Saturday night we have the Harry Channel, and Minions is on every night of the week. So there's always something interesting on to watch. But for tonight, the zoo is closed, and good night, everybody.